Thank you, sir. I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 21st, 2026 Johnston County Planning Board meeting. I know we have a lot of folks here, and hopefully we'll be as expeditious as possible in everything we do. Before we get started, we'd like to do a Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Mr. Crenshaw to lead us in that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is approval of the minutes from the March 17th, 2026 Planning Board meeting.
Motion to approve is written.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Crenshaw, second by Ms. Holmes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Okay, now we'll move on to subdivisions. Braston, do the swearing in first. So everybody's here to testify as it relates to subdivisions. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, and we'll need you to raise your right hand. Please stand. Raise your right hand. I swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I do.
I do. Thank you. Before we get started, just make it known that the vast majority of land in Johnston County is zoned agricultural residential, which means by right you can farm it or build houses on it. As such, it is not the purview of the board to determine if a subdivision is appropriate for a specific area, only if the subdivision meets our codes and ordinances. Because this is a quasi-judicial hearing, we ask that any testimony given be directly relevant to how the subdivision does or does not meet the codes and ordinances of the county. As we are the final approval body for subdivisions, all those that wish to give testimony related to a subdivision will need to be sworn in, and we ask that all speakers provide their name and addresses for the record when coming to the podium. So if you wish to give testimony, please stand and raise your right hand. We got that part done. I will say, because we do have so many people here, we want to hear from everyone that wants to talk. Just make sure you're not repetitive of what somebody else has already said. If they've already said it, it's duly noted, and we have a record of it. And if you will, for everybody else's benefit, be as brief as you can be so everybody gets their chance. So with that said, we'll move on to the Parrish Hills Phase 3.
Yes, sir. Parrish Hills Phase 3, Riley and Walker, owner and developer Riley and Walker Development LLC. It's also owned by Haven Heights Development LLC. Surveyor engineer is Bobby Fuqua. The location's 400 block of Rye Way in the Parrish Hills subdivision in the Niels Township, served by Corinth Holders Fire District Clayton Rescue Squad. It's 13.46 acres, 2 lots proposed. Johnston County Water, individual septic. This portion of Rye Way does not appear on the comprehensive transportation plan as needing improvement. This parcel is not within the environmentally sensitive area. This is 2 additional lots that go along with the 47 that was previously approved. These 13.46 acres were originally listed as unimproved open space. They haven't actually formed an HOA yet, but the owners have signed consent to take that out to get the 2 additional lots. They did pay fee in lieu for all of the other lots, so it doesn't mess up that requirement. It wasn't required before. So.
I guess my first, would this still be served internal to the existing service?
It is. It's just 2 lots that are in the middle of Rye Way. And it's listed as 48 and 49.
Okay. Got it. Any questions for staff? Anyone here to like speak for the developer?
Good evening. I'm Donnie Adams. As you can tell by my attire, I'm a professional engineer, Becker Morgan Group, 314 East Main Street in Clayton. And my firm, or my previous firm, which was Adams & Hodge Engineering, handled the original engineering, planning and engineering on this project a while back. And so what's before you, basically when we came through before, I believe it was for preliminary subdivision purposes, We had 58 lots approved, but as they dug through the process, trying to get lots platted, didn't have soils, they recorded 47. And after recording that last, the phase 2, then they, I'm not sure exactly how it was found with environmental health or a separate soils consultant, but they found more soils to allow 2 more lots. So that's what's before you tonight to move the recorded portion from 47 to 48. So, and it is served internally and was something that was originally shown on a preliminary.
Gotcha.
So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I misspoke also too. It is in the environmentally sensitive area, which requires the 40,000 square foot.
Gotcha. Any questions for the engineer? Thank you, sir. Anybody here that would like to speak in opposition to subdivision, these 2 lots? Bring it back to staff.
Staff recommendations, preliminary approval subject to the conditions and requirements in the staff report.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Holmes, second by Mr. Sasser. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against? Thank you. Let's move on to the reserve at Morgan Ridge. Bring it staff.
Yes, sir. The reserve at Morgan Ridge, owner is Huey and Janice Johnston Living Trust. Developers FD Raleigh, Inc. It's engineer Stocks Engineering, represented by Kevin Varnell. Its location is 2343 Mount Pleasant Road in the Pleasant Grove Township, served by 5210 Fire and Rescue. It's 28.77 acres, 19 lots proposed, Johnston County Public Water, individual septic. Traffic count for Mount Pleasant Road was 4,290 vehicles per day. That was 2025. This portion of Mount Pleasant Road appears on the comprehensive transportation plan as a road proposed to be widened to a 4-lane divided. It is also noted as such in the southeast area study update, and there is a diagram in the staff report that shows you what's being proposed.
Any questions for staff? Before we hear from anybody, I would like to say that we all did receive an email from 2 property owners, and we just be above board and transparent. I just want to let everybody know that. I don't think anybody responded to the emails. I know I didn't. And we just encourage you, if you have concerns or want to bring something, because it is a quasi-judicial hearing, please come to the meetings and pass that information out, or come to the podium and let us know what your thoughts are. I just want to mention that. Anybody here from the owner or the engineer?
Good evening. My name is Coley Crosby. I'm with Stocks Engineering, address 801 East Washington Street, Nashville, North Carolina. This is a 28.77 acre lot, or acre tract subdivision being proposed. It's currently zoned agriculture. We are proposing 19 lots. Use by right, minimum 30,000 square foot lots. We've already spoke with NCDOT. They said that a turn lane was not required based off their preliminary design review. Stormwater exempt, it's about 13% impervious. All permitting will be done through the state accordingly through Johnston County.
Any questions from the board?
Would you say,
Go ahead.
the minimum lot size was?
Proposed lot size minimum is 30,000 square feet.
Okay. I just see most of the lots here.
They're very big. We're nowhere near 30,000. So,
I believe it's on lot 19. It looks like there's an existing pond.
correct.
Will that be maintained and owned by that lot? Or will that be an HOA?
That pond is currently proposed to be filled and taken out of service.
Okay.
Any more questions? Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
Anybody here that would like to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am. If you would state your name and address, please. When do you get up here? Yeah.
Shannon Fuller and John Spivey, we own the property at 3236 and 3240 Jackson King Road. We apologize, we're one of the ones that sent an
That's
email. If anyone would like a copy, that is the
Thank
email
you.
that was sent.
And it's one of those things, if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, we didn't
So,
know. We do
I get
apologize.
it. Yes, ma'am.
Our interest in this development is that between our 5 acres and our neighbors on each side, 5 acres for one and 12 for the other, that's 22 acres between the 3 of us. So we abut 28-acre development, 29-acre development with our 22 acres. We appreciate that FD Raleigh, the developer, Mr. Stock's engineering firm, and the Southeastern Soil have done their due diligence with integrity and good faith. We, however, question a good bit of the map and what they have decided is and is not good, bad soil, bib soil, and the omission of a creek that runs all 22 acres of our land.
Yeah, the actual property line between, the map's kind of upside down.
The purple and orange, that's a creek,
So
and
there's a
Got
creek
it.
that runs through the center of it that's not mentioned in there. And then everything they have labeled as bad soil, we had the USDA and the Agricultural Commission come out and look at it, and they said it's actually bib land,
bib soil.
bib soil.
With a
And
creek.
So I think under Johnston County ordinance, that bib soil has to be looked at as common ground. So therefore, in their density, that alters the density because you can't include bib soil in the density for the lots. So that would change the scape of the amount of houses they're gonna build and decrease the density, which would decrease the amount of houses they could put in there.
As well, they have only a 5-foot setback from the property line, which, to our understanding, it's a 50-foot setback with a creek at the highest
Elevation.
bank. Yes.
Our biggest concern is runoff.
One moment, if I can, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, if I can address the 50, what you're talking about. So there's a 5-foot building setback for a property line, but if there is a riparian buffer that is effective, that's a statewide buffer along any jurisdictional stream, creek, water body, that is 50 feet. So regardless of the county's requirement for a 5-foot setback, they would have to adhere to the 50-foot regardless.
If it's a jurisdictional stream.
So speaking of the riparian, that's our next issue, is that part of the riparian would be removed in their plan. So the creek has been omitted, the bib soil has been called bad soil on their map, and there is no mention of the riparian buffer. Of the 22 acres that our 3 families own, it's a creek bed. It rises, it falls, it expands, it contracts. It's really big sometimes it's not. It floods a lot of time, no matter if it's a dry year, wet year, when we have storms back to back, when we have hurricanes, obviously, or we just have a normal day of rain, it can flood. Miss Johnston's land, which is the,
It's actually mislabeled on the map.
yeah, they've got also the wrong owners.
Are not correct.
But this is Miss Johnston's 12 acres, our 5 acres, and the left's 5 acres. This area here, which is crosshatched, is actually on maps in Johnston County as wetlands. It stays wet year-round. It's not walkable. It's a couple acres of the back part of her land. That is not noted on their map as well. Our point is, this land is a natural watershed for this area, and it's completely neglected on this map. As well, the upper portion of this original farm, 12 acres, was tried to be developed multiple times about 10 years ago. It could not perk old standards or new standards, I don't know, but the soil wasn't perking for any high density. They put 3 houses in there. That's all it perked for. And now we're trying to put, that was a 12-acre section of that farm. Now we're trying to put essentially 9 homes in 12 acres. Well, 9 and 12, if you look at it. So I'm not sure how the soil testing has, I mean, these farms literally are divided only by a creek and some trees. How one farm has the ability to absorb high density where the other one did not. That's in the Johnston County records about 10 years ago when they tried to develop that, 2 different developers.
And after we're done, we'll bring that to the engineer, ask some questions about those very things.
That really what we're asking for is to please let the natural buffer stay to keep us from flooding out. We are literally, we call ourselves in the holler, we're the low point, Jackson King Road, all the way down, all of our neighbors, both farms, and the 28 acres behind us. We literally sit in the low point of all of that. We have enough issues with drainage without whatever the impermeability measurements have been put on this map. I just can't speak to how true they are if you're not using the creek, the bib, and the slope of the land back there.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Any questions for them? Anybody? Thank you.
Apologies again for the email.
No problem. Who would like to else speak in opposition? Give us your name and address, please.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Pamela Blaylock Hogg, and my address is 280 Farmall Drive, Smithfield. However, I have a vested interest in the original, what was the original William Marvin Blaylock farm, specifically to 2245 Mount Pleasant Road. And I am speaking on behalf of my father, which is Glenwood Russell Blaylock. This is also adjacent to Betty Blaylock's property, which is located at 2269 Mount Pleasant Road, as well as Jeremy Blaylock's property, which is located at 2283 Mount Pleasant Road. So I just wanted to make a couple of brief statements. I won't hold you up too much, but basically the land use and the compatibility. So this property is surrounded by large rural and agricultural tracts that's actively used for farming and outdoor activity. The proposed layout introduces multiple residential lots into an area that currently functions very differently, outside of that. So based on what is shown on the plot, this creates some compatibility concern between the existing use of surrounding land and the intensity of the proposed layout. So I'm just asking that this be carefully evaluated to ensure that it fits the character and the conditions of the specific location, because we will continue to farm and to farm the other parcels that are adjacent to it. My second point that I just wanted to bring up was a safety concern, really. The area, it's really hunting and real use. So this area is actively used for lawful hunting and firearm activity, which is a very normal part of, as you're aware, rural land use. But with the number of lots shown on the plan, the new homes would be placed directly adjacent to land where some of these activities occur. So this creates a foreseeable safety concern and a potential for conflict between existing landowners and future residents. So we just ask that safety and real-world use of surrounding land be considered when reviewing this layout. And that was all my comments. So,
Thank you, ma'am.
I have a question. I have
Go
a
ahead.
question.
yes.
Which land is yours? I can't figure it out.
2245 Mount Pleasant Road,
What name is it? We only have names.
Glenwood Russell Blaylock.
Is it a Walter maybe?
It's
No.
to the east.
No,
To the east.
I don't,
To the east.
It's beside
Should
the
have-
Betty Blaylock.
does it abut this property?
There's Huey and Janice Johnston.
Oh, Walter and Candale?
No,
Oh,
there's
that's both.
Huey and Janice Johnson, then there's Betty
Betty
Blaylock,
Right.
and Jeremy Blaylock.
To the east of it.
Okay, Betty and Jeremy.
And then there's-
Betty and Jeremy and Kathy
Jeremy
and Betty.
And Betty Blaylock.
They're you.
No, they're here, but I'm talking about Glenwood Russell Blaylock, which is beside Betty Blaylock.
That's the one I can't find. That's why. Am I not looking?
It's on screen.
It's not on your map, though.
Oh, it's not on
It's
my
not
map.
named on your map.
Right.
It's there. It's just
It's
doesn't,
just not there.
it's beside the Betty Blaylock.
Okay.
To the right.
Must be down here.
It is. It's over here. No, it's over here. It's beside Betty.
Before it was subdivided years ago, it was all one farm. It was William Marvin Blaylock.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
I saw a lot of Blaylocks, but I
Yeah.
just didn't see you.
And I'm the daughter of Russell Blaylock, so
Okay.
I'm speaking on his behalf. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Karen Blaylock, and I live at 2222 Mount Pleasant Road. And I am also speaking on behalf of my father, Glenwood Russell Blaylock. He resides at 2245 Mount Pleasant Road. Myself and my sister, Pamela Blaylock Hogg, were also speaking on behalf of our aunt, Betty Winfrey Blaylock, which is here and will also speak, as well as our cousin at the back, which is her son, which is Jeremy Ray Blaylock. They will also speak as well, and their properties do back up to
I see
the
those names.
subdivision in question. So my concerns that I just kind of want to bring to you guys, we are Johnston County residents, and the property has been in our family for many, many years. But the concerns that we just want to bring to the forefront tonight are specifically, you've already heard from the first couple that came up, is in regards to wetlands and drainage. So as shown on the plat, there are multiple areas identified as wetlands and low-lying conditions throughout the property. These features play an important role in natural drainage. Any disturbance or development in these areas can impact how water flows across the site and into neighboring properties. Our concern is whether the current design fully accounts for these conditions in long-term draining impacts. We do have drainage problems on the farm. Like the previous couple stated, it doesn't matter whether it is regular rains, whether it's hurricane conditions. The farm, it ebbs and flows as far as how the drainage happens. At any point in the year, you can go out and you can see the erosion on that particular part of the farm where the water does erode and there are drainage problems. So we respectfully ask that this be thoroughly evaluated before the approval. Another concern that I would like to bring forth is in regards to the roads and the access points. This subdivision relies on a single access point and an internal road serving multiple lots. While it may meet minimal requirements on paper, there are concerns about increased traffic, visibility, and overall safety on rural roads like Mount Pleasant Road. These roads were not designed for this level of traffic. And I understand that we are also talking about widening this particular road in this area of Johnston County. However, we still ask that this be carefully considered when reviewing the plan. When I think about the long-term goals of the land use in this part of the county for Johnston and how this land has been used over the multitude of years, is this in accordance to the long-term goals of the county, of how this land has been used in the past and what the long-term goals would be aligned with? And then the last thing that I would like to kind of bring to the forefront is property lines and neighbor impact. The plan places multiple residential lots directly along existing property boundaries. With this layout, there's an increased likelihood of trespassing, boundary confusion, and long-term conflicts between new residents and neighboring landowners. There are no clearly defined buffers shown that would help protect adjacent properties. We ask that impact to neighboring landowners be taken into consideration. We understand that this proposal is being reviewed under current zoning, and we respect the process. We respect you guys as the board. However, based on the plat provided, there are clear site-specific concerns related to drainage, wetlands, road access, safety, and compatibility with surrounding land use. Johnston County's long-term planning also emphasizes thoughtful growth and protecting rural areas, which makes it important that developments like this are carefully evaluated in context. We respectfully ask the board to take a closer look at these concerns and ensure this proposal fully meets the intent and standards of the county before moving forward with the approval. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Betty Blaylock. I live at 2269 Mount Pleasant Road. And this is my son Jeremy Blaylock, and he lives,
2283.
yeah. The proposed development will, is adjacent to where our property lines are. His is his 1 acre and his home. How it affects me is it's going to border farmland, and this is active farmland. We rent out that acreage to a farmer, and he's farmed it for years, and he continues to do so. So we want to ensure, I understand that usually developments put up barriers. I don't know if the plan would be to do a barrier with just trees and shrubs or any kind of hardscaping, but I really think that there needs to be a thick barrier to deter any other people coming across and getting into those fields and maybe disturbing what the farmer is working on. And people are going to be people. Sometimes that happens. So we want for noise control and privacy for us, as well as protecting that farmland that we rent out. And we appreciate your consideration.
Yes, ma'am. Any questions for her? Thank you.
Jeremy Blaylock, 2283. So in addition to what several people have already mentioned about the desire for a barrier, the only other concern I have is with that pond being filled in. That pond was originally put there as drainage for the entire farm. Everything that rains comes down and fills into that pond. So when it fills in, it's likely to just back up into the existing property, specifically mine. And I would just ask that that is kept in mind with whatever would be done drainage-wise or whatever to account for that, since it already fills up and just leaves a puddle of standing water in the yard as it is.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi. So I'm not a public speaker.
Well, I like your hat.
I don't.
I'm already off to a bad start then. So I was having printer issues and I don't have...
Could you give us your name and
Oh,
address,
I'm
please?
sorry.
Yeah,
My
fine.
name is Aaron Leff and I live at 3250 Jackson King Road. I am an adjacent property to the long side of the proposed development there. Yes, right there. There. No, up one more. No, I'm sorry, down one more. There you go. So that's me right there, and I have some information I'd like to send y'all. I have numerous concerns. I'm a USDA farm, and the rear of my property and my pasture land already is completely flooded out. As you can see on the contour maps, the contour doesn't come all the way over, but I have for you, for each one of you, I have a packet I'd like to give you. That area behind me, that woodland that comes all the way down that you see there and then wraps all the way around, that's part of the old Coleman branch. And that is a, that's an actual federally recognized riparian wetland. And you'll see the blue on there, that's all the hydrology. And one of my biggest concerns is during rain events, the back of my field is already flooded out. And it's all hydric bib soil. And if you all don't know what hydric soil is, it means that it's constantly wet, it doesn't grow well, has no oxygen, it's depleted of minerals. So given the fact that that whole part of my land is already frequently flooded out, my concern is that this development, as it goes in, it's going to, and they pave 4.5 acres of roof line and roadway, that I'm going to get this hydrostatic pressure. And from the NRCS and Soil and Conservation, It essentially, I'll hand it to you. There's a soil survey here I'd like to give you all. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Like I said, this isn't my forte. I sent an email. I understand that can't be taken as evidence, so I brought you all packets that I'd like to introduce.
If you'll just give them to Rob there, we'll pass them all around.
Okay, sure thing. There you go. All around. Thank you. If I can take just one copy there. Okay, thank you. So one of the things I'm talking about right here is you'll see on this map, this is the hydric bib soil right here in that riparian buffer. And that riparian buffer is part of the, like I said, the Coleman Branch, the Little Black Creek, Middle Creek preservation zone. And it is part of the Neuse River Basin, and it all drains down into the Neuse River. So as you can see, the proposed site of the development is actually also bib soil, which means that it's constantly saturated, the water table is very high in it. And that's where my concern comes in, that once we get any type of storm activity, all that water is going to flow down. And from the data that I got from Soil and Conservation, they've been out to my property, they've assessed everything. I also have had DEQ I've been in contact with, and they are also, I thought that was my time, I thought it was being booted out. But they also have come out and assessed the area, and the estimation is that per rain event, I'd get about 116,000 gallons of water per 1 inch rain event. That would flood out the back of my cropland there. You'll see in this one I'm sharing with you, that bib soil comes all the way up towards the house there, and you can see it as BB on there. And as you flip over in highlighted yellow, this is the actual soil survey from NRCS and Soil and Water Conservation. So that's one of my items. I'm sorry, I'll try and get through this for you. So the floodplains is a big problem. One of my other concerns is I am a retired paramedic, and my daughters drive that road every single day, and I drive that road every single day as we go down Mount Pleasant. That's a blind curve. And as I look at the developer's proposed map for the ingress and egress, that curve right there, they have a 70-foot line of sight triangle. And I'm sorry, but as a former paramedic in a high call volume area, somebody's traveling 45 miles per hour down that road, they come around that corner, they have a 1 second stopping time. And that's just not enough time for them to stop. And my concern is we already in a rural area have long call response times when EMS is activated. My concern is that that's going to put everybody at jeopardy. It's going to stress the EMS system.
I just wanted to add to what you just said, just so for your
Yes.
information. The site distance triangle that you see is required by DOT, and that is that you can't build anything in that site distance triangle. However, the department also requires that they certify what the actual site distance that you can see is. And it's typically whatever the speed limit is times 10, that's
Okay.
what you're shooting for. So instead of that 70, you're looking for 450 feet.
That's what I was going to request, was a 500 foot.
Right.
We need at least a 500 foot clearance.
But the
there,
engineering
site
firm
drain.
has to send that to the department.
Okay, so my question is then, has the developer already submitted that to the board for you all to make a decision on that tonight?
That's not part of our is part of DOT's.
Okay.
What they do, and that has not been submitted as a driveway permit, I'm sure, yet to the department.
Okay. So you all take that into consideration, and as you.
We rely on them to make sure that it is what it needs to be.
Okay. I guess the other concern I have is environmental misrepresentation due to that riparian buffer. The developer has all that listed simply as bad soil. It's not bad soil. It's, like I said, it's hydric bib soil, it's wetland soil, it's protected riparian area. And so I feel that they've already come into this with bad faith, in that regard as well. That's also a huge wildlife corridor. And while wildlife comes up from the bottom there where their cul-de-sac would be, I mean, you can see a grouping of the woods, and all that water flows back down to the side, to the west and south there. And my concern is they're gonna disrupt all that habitat down there, you know, for the wildlife that's coming up in that area. We have, you know, herds of 40 turkeys, wild turkey that come through my property all the time, herds of deer. There's just a ton of wildlife that rely on that habitat there. I'm going to bypass this. You can see it, that's all there on your own GIS. In that regard, the other concern is, maybe you can help me understand this, but it's my understanding is that they cannot use riparian wetland to satisfy their open space requirement. And right now, it currently looks like they're trying to pay a fee in lieu. However, my understanding is a fee in lieu cannot be used to account for that riparian acreage. And so that's.
Preston.
So, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yep.
Just for people at home watching who may be at home recording. So, I'll explain the open space. Open space is a either or. So either you provide 15% of open space, which is outside of a riparian feature or wetland, or you pay a fee. If you can't meet the 15%, you pay a fee of $1,000 per lot to the county for use for open space, purchase and development of open space within the county, open space and recreational space within the county. With regard to the riparian feature, that riparian feature, this branch, is a regulatory body. So that 50-foot is required to remain. There's two zones. There's a 30-foot zone and a 20-foot zone, which makes up your 50 feet from the edge of the bank during normal high water, your normal water line. That is a standard. They can't build, they can't disturb. There's limited activities in that first 20. Those things, we look at those. This is preliminary. So whatever you do, whatever action is taken, if it were approved, there's still design that would have to be submitted. Development permits would have to be issued off of that design that is permitted, and then the construction would actually take place while it was under inspection during the process of construction. In the process of design and permitting, development permitting, there's stormwater review. There's review with regard to the potential environmental encroachments, if there's a stream crossing or something for a road, for a street, what have you. All of that's done at that time, as well as soil evaluations for septic. That is done at that time. So from a net yield perspective, you could see 19 lots be dramatically reduced with all of these factors considered. So as far as the riparian, as far as the wetland or the open space and the wetlands, he's absolutely, Mr. Leff is absolutely correct. It does not count toward open space, but that's what the fee in lieu there is there for. So they have the option to pay the fee in lieu.
Thank you. So I guess my concern with that would be that, are they calculating that towards their minimum lot requirements? And how does any family that comes in and moves into that area, how do they know that that's a protected wetland, and riparian area? So what if they start encroaching upon that?
So on the final plat, there are different standards for the final plat. When it's time for recording, that riparian will have to be shown on the final plat, so that's how they do.
As well as wetlands.
Yeah, as well as wetlands, any environmental feature has to be shown on the final plat at the time of recording.
But that comes well after this stage.
Yes, absolutely. It's a long, we're a long ways from that.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so anyway, that was one of my concerns, was that they were doing some density padding and gross acreage abuse, because that's the current UDO. And we're moving towards, from what I understand, net acreage on the UDO. But that's there in my documentation, that's going on the record. You all can take a look at that, please. I would appreciate that before a vote. And as the Blaylock said, I do have a shooting range as well on my property. It's a developed shooting range. It's been there. It's been active for over 20 years on that property. And I guess I just want to further clarify the legal land use rights that you'd be impacting. You know, I have livestock, and I need to protect my livestock from coyote that we have increasing in numbers as they come through with these developments. I lose chickens all the time, and I've got to be able to, you know, take care of my livestock. And so under the North Carolina Right to Farm Act, and the North Carolina Sport Shooting Act, it would be a nuisance for any families that move in. They're gonna hear gunfire, and it's gonna be right on their backyard, because my backstops are right at those woods. My concern is that per the U.S. military and the National Rifle Association, you know, they require 30 degree to each side of a safety line, right, when you're firing at a backdrop. Well, homes on that plot line, homes 4, 5, 6, 16, 17, and 18, all would lie within that established ballistic safety fan of the area I shoot. And in here, you'll find my GPS coordinates on my shooting location, shooting position, as well as my backstop as well. That, and then really just ensuring that, you know, the riparian habitat disturbance, the hydrologic stormwater impact, and my request to you all, and my farm tract is in there as well, and it's outlined to show you my property there and how that would be impacted on that backside, how close it is to the proposed development. My request, I would love to request that the development is denied until we have more of these surveys and inspectors and engineers come out in advance and identify a lot of these concerns that everybody's raising tonight beforehand, before approval. I don't feel that we're at a place for approval just yet, but that's my opinion. You all are the experts. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Anyone else? All right, bring back to staff. Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. Bring back to the engineer. I got a list of questions for you, and I'm sure someone else may have. I'm gonna go through all the questions first. We talked about is there a jurisdictional stream there, and the wetlands, and the design of the subdivision. You're talking about pre and post water on in the subdivision. There was a barrier between uses. I can talk to that. About the pond and the drainage that goes to the pond, how that's going to be handled after the pond is filled in. And we talked about, I think I covered the site distance, and we'll talk about soils. But let's go to the jurisdictional stream first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so absolutely. So during our process with DEQ, particularly erosion control and with the stormwater review, we're going to get the Corps of Engineers. We're going to have the DEQ come out. We're going to get a delineation letter and conference for all of the wetlands that are staked there for the jurisdictional stream to confirm that there is a riparian buffer, the 50-foot top of bank to the 50-foot out. In no way are we proposing to actually encroach in wetlands or riparian buffers. So we will not have a permit to do that. And just to clear everybody's mind, these lines are just shown, you're not building, where these property lines go, there will be no building into the riparian buffers or the wetlands. If we did, we would have to pay for it, and I assure you, it's a lot of money and it would drown the project. So there is no intent there.
Okay. And same with the wetlands as well?
Correct.
Yes, sir. Can we talk about the design, pre and post, that you look at for the handling of the drainage within the subdivision?
So our proposed, again, this is in the very early preliminary stages. We will reevaluate the drainage holistically for the site. We'll hold original drainage conveyance patterns. I've heard a lot about flooding and flooding issues. What this design will do, it will carry runoff directly to that riparian protected buffer.
Okay, can we talk about the pond and what you're going to do with that drainage since the pond is going to be eliminated?
Correct, so that pond's in a low spot right now. So we would be happy to carry that drainage down to that same riparian buffer once it is filled in.
Okay. I think he's covered the questions. Anybody else got any?
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Did you intentionally try to hide these bad soils and not call them bib soils on purpose?
No, sir, that was more of
What was the
a.
purpose behind that?
Yes, sir. So that was more of a layman's term to just kind of indicate these are unsuitable soils for septic use. So there is no, we know there's no good or actually good or evil or right, good soils. These are just soils that we can't use for, that don't perk, and we're not using for septic.
So as I think the chairman said, or someone said, that this is very preliminary. When this gets to those that are adjacent to this property, this may totally change based on how the soils end up, the DEQ surveys, the Corps of Engineers, all of that may totally change the map.
Yes, sir. Yes, and again, we show these specifically just to justify the layout of the lots, just to show, hey, there's a certain amount of, these are going to be custom high-end homes. Okay, they're not going to be the typical, and these are going to be a luxury, I guess, lots. And so we want to make sure that we have as much septic soils as possible to utilize on each lot.
And you're not allowed to take all of the water on this land and throw it on everybody else's property, is that correct?
Nor would we want to. We want to make sure
But
to.
I'm saying that is part of the survey and the stormwater.
Correct.
That process that you will have to go through in order to get this approved.
Yes, that is correct. And the money it would cost to actually achieve that would, again, sink the project. We were not going to try to build this up and take runoff to everybody's adjacent lots. The intent, as of right now, is to carry, again, as much runoff as we can to that jurisdictionally buffered stream.
The buffer already floods, so why are we going to intentionally?
Let's not do that.
I'm sorry.
I mean, everybody had their turn, so let's
Yes, sir.
let's let him have his turn.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. You good, Jay?
Yeah, I think so.
Any other questions?
Oh, I have a question. I've got the same question that the lady back there had. I mean, you're already dealing with flooded lands, and yet you're telling us that you're going to add even more water to that natural stream. I have a major concern with that.
Well, as it's laid out, that is we are underneath the threshold. Well, again, we'll have to run all of our numbers through Johnston County, state of North Carolina, and we will meet everything that is required.
I do want to go on record too and say that you're saying that you're going to divert stormwater into a stream that you did not list on this drawing. Do you have to list the stream on the drawing?
But you haven't got jurisdictional.
No, we're still waiting for the final conference.
Okay. And I think to what was said earlier, that will be shown on the final, has to be shown on the final plat.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we have a long list of conditions in the event this were to pass. Isn't one of them the one with the stormwater and erosion control permits, which would actually cover that because they got to go through I'm just making sure that we're covered here in the event this passes.
Brasson.
It's 19, 20, and 21 on the staff report conditions.
Okay.
I got it right here. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is there any barrier proposed between the Blaylock, that'd be parcels 12 through 19?
No, sir, the only thing that we have right now is the required setbacks.
And Brasson, correct me if I'm wrong, currently, there's nothing that says they have to put a barrier there. That's correct. In current standards of lot property. Any other questions? Bring it back to staff. Thank you, sir.
Staff's recommendation is preliminary approval subject to the conditions and requirements in the staff report.
Quick question. So when we're talking about stormwater, the permit is issued on the basis of net difference. Like, at the end of the day, there can't really be a difference in the discharge to adjacent properties from this development. Is that how that works?
I don't work in public utilities, but he can explain it a little bit better.
Yes. Generally speaking, your difference between pre and post is minimal. There's stormwater, and in the state of North Carolina, the way stormwater standards are established, you have what's called pre-development flows. So before the land is ever disturbed, there's a certain amount of water, and it is in a certain volume under a certain type rain event, whether it's 10-year, 25-year, 50-year, whatever it may be. Post-development, you look at post-development and you ensure one thing, that you're not conveying any greater than typically 10% than what pre-development was, and the intensity can't be any greater than it was previously.
Which was my question before.
In pre-development.
Dump water on somebody else's land.
And you utilize, the one thing you do is, in your best management practice is to utilize natural features as much as possible, natural grade, natural topography, to ensure that you have water flow. If you start changing that when we talk about kind of really having negative impact on a drainage basin or a sub-basin, then start changing the drainage pattern on any given property, that could actually impact a larger basin.
I think it's important to reemphasize the fact that this is very preliminary, and it will go through the steps, and we've all seen go from 10, 15, 20 lots down, reduce 4 or 5 lots when it goes through stormwater and it goes to looking at soils for septic.
That's correct. Could always happen.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I know there's a lot of concern, but I don't think that I've seen anything that puts this out of concurrence or agreement with the regulations and land use plan of Johnston County. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Crenshaw, seconded by Mr. Sasser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Aye.
Pass.
Can I get a copy for the record?
Extra, can I get one too?
You want a copy of this stuff? I put the extras up here.
Oh,
There's a bunch of them. But you got one of everything.
Try to take a note from
Yeah. Let it clear out a little bit. All right. Everybody kind of get where they're gonna be? Before we get started, just a reminder, if you come up to speak, please, be as brief as possible. And also make sure, you're bringing new information that somebody else has not already stated. And I appreciate that. So next we'll go to Harper House Road track.
Yes, sir. Harper House Road track owner is Faison Investments and Herring Properties, developers Garden Street Community Southeast LLC, engineers Becker Morgan Group. It's the 6900 block of Harper House Road east of US Highway 701 south into Bentonville Township, served by Bentonville Fire and Benson Rescue. It's 188 acres, 157 lots proposed, served by Johnston County Public Water, individual septic. Last traffic count was 732 vehicles per day. That was in 2025. This portion of Harper House Road appears on the comprehensive transportation plan as a secondary road with adequate design capacity with no noted improvement needed. This parcel is not within the environmentally sensitive area. However, a floodplain appears on a small portion of one of the parcels. Per the Fire Marshal's Office, due to the size of the development, fire access roads for this development are required to be a minimum of 1,131 feet apart. That's from the North Carolina Building Code, Fire Prevention Code Appendix D 107, dealing with one or two family residential developments. And there is a copy of that in front of you. And I believe Mr. Adams will speak to that whenever he introduces or speaks about this subdivision.
Any questions for staff? What was that number again? 1,000?
1,131 feet, and it explains how that number's gotten in the fire code there.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
Is that, I'm trying to figure that out. They have to be a distance of 1,100 feet, or when I read this, they have to be a distance one half of what the side?
That was what they came up with. That was for this actual project. And there is also the very last paragraph, an exception, that if it can be proven that there's it's not feasible, then it's a possibility.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Thanks, sir. Hear from the engineer or the owner.
Good evening again. Donnie Adams, 314 East Main Street, Clayton, North Carolina. I'm a professional engineer with Becker Morgan Group, 314 East Main Street. Did I just say that? I said it twice.
We know it anyway.
We got it.
We know it
You knew it,
anyway.
you heard it the first time and the second time and the third. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so as Todd said, the proposed site is 188 acres. We are proposing 157 lots on the 188 acres, which is roughly 0.84 lots per acre. We have designed this subdivision to maximize the use of the property. We have designed it in a way that it does meet the Johnston County UDO, all the standards within the Johnston County UDO applicable, and we also meet the applicable requirements of the NC Fire Code. I want to walk through a few different things. Like usual, I want to point out that we have provided a male cluster box unit. This one's a little bit different given the size of the project. It's next to Lot 63, and it is one where we're providing off-street parking at. So that's that location. With that being said, again, understand that what we're proposing is in the AR district's use by right. Should we get approved tonight, then we got a lot of work ahead of us. So as you've heard many times before tonight, that this is the starting point. So going forward, should we get approved, we got a significant permitting process to go through, and I'm gonna break them down in a few different categories. I don't usually get into this much detail on them, but this one's big enough. Let's talk through them a little bit. So we'll start with the main parts of the subdivision. So we'll go through the review and approval process with NCDOT, both for the driveway access points and the subdivision. So that's an official permitting process. We'll go through the review, approval, and hopeful permitting process with Johnston County Utilities for the public water system. Also with Johnston County Utilities, we will go through the erosion control approval process, review and approval process. Again, with Johnston County, we'll be doing the stormwater, which that's when these are our full, at that point, we'll have full design plans. We'll design that portion of them to meet all the flow requirements, all the standards specific to securing that stormwater permit. When we move from that part of the project, we'll talk about wastewater. So the first part of wastewater is going to be working with the state and Johnston County Environmental Health for the review and approval of the septic systems for each one of the lots. The other part of the wastewater is from the existing conditions for the hog farming operation that's out there. So there's existing lagoons that are out there, and so those are going to be closed out, and there's specific processes that are required both by the USDA and the state that we have to go through. That is not my area of specialty, but our client is working with an environmental consultant, just like we do wetlands or streams and that part. But this environmental consultant has gone through this process before on agriculture operations, animal waste closeouts, and is very familiar with that. So there's, without getting into the weeds, there's a specific process for where they'll go through and close out each one of the basins and the demolition of the buildings and whatever requirements are associated with that. But that is a permitting process should we get approved tonight. And then the final piece that we want to talk about, that I want to talk about is access. So 2 access concerns or thoughts or questions. The first one is for access to some adjacent parcels. There are currently 4 or 5 parcels adjacent to the west that are provided access through this site. So we are maintaining that access. We are, I think you can see it from lots on the backs of lots 18 through 27, basically that cul-de-sac to the left. So we do understand that one of the owners of the adjacent tract runs trucks in and out, and so we've made sure that we've laid out that access. You can see it's curved, so we make sure that he can make his turns as he maneuvers through there, post conditions. The second part of access is, as Todd mentioned, based on the size, we have 2 access points. One has to be fully constructed, which is our main entrance. The second one is an emergency access. It has to be constructed with a hardened surface. And the question that came up and what the fire marshal initially said was based on that diagonal calculation, it is half of it. That's the separation that is intended, but in which we don't meet that, and it's physically impossible for us to meet that. So there's a second part of the code, or second part of that statement. It's called remoteness. There's 2 paragraphs there. The remoteness part says if you're unable to physically do it, and they list out several things, but it's clear that this one is unable to do it, then the fire code official shall not require the second access, which we're not asking for that, or shall allow alternate means to meet that second access. So it is by that remoteness and in conversations with the fire code official, with the fire marshal's office, that what we have proposed does meet this condition, the fire code. So again, bringing it back, tonight's preliminary. It is designed to meet the requirements of the Johnston County UDO at this point. We've got a lot of work going forward in our full engineering design process, approval processes to work through after that, should we get it approved. But with that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have for me.
So, quick question.
Yes.
2 things. And maybe I won't listen real well, but is there a second access?
Okay, yes, there is. It is to the far left, far, okay, on the plan, top right of your plan, the way it's shown on the screen. I'm not sure how you guys are looking at it, it should be to the west on
Okay.
At what
Harper
lot?
House Road.
Right there it is, right there.
Yeah, I see that. I thought that was for the trucker.
Yep.
That's access for the other parcels, though, right?
That's both, that is the emergency access, so
Okay.
it'll be our emergency access all the way from the road to the cul-de-sac.
Anything between 100 and 200, or 100 and 199 lots has to have at least a secondary emergency access.
So it accesses in the curve to the cul-de-sac.
That's correct.
Okay, I got it.
Wait, show me. Oh, right here?
Right.
Between 17 and 18?
Between 17 and 18.
That doesn't meet this requirement, does it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's going to be paved surface?
To be determined if it's paved, it'll be a hardened surface, so at a minimum, it will be compacted ABC.
Okay.
And my other question was, you mentioned that same access road that serves these other parcels, and you mentioned a gentleman had a tractor trailer. And how did you determine that those curves would handle that tractor trailer?
We, on our AutoCAD software, we have vehicle turning radiuses, so we used the semi truck and did the vehicle tracking path through there.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us, I know in the exception for remoteness,
Yes, sir.
where it says developments where compliance is technically infeasible because of road connectivity. I mean, talk to us about why that exception applies here. Why do we have technical, or what evidence do you have as to technical infeasibility?
Yes, so just the simple, multiple things to say, but the simple part is our road frontage is somewhere around, it's about half of what it's required. It's about 600 feet, give or take, across the frontage, and so we've maximized our separation as it is.
Any other questions?
This has been reviewed already by the fire marshal,
Yes, sir.
and they've looked at these access points already.
They have reviewed this plan. They first said that it did not meet the requirement, but in further review, and I've had conversations with them, they did not evaluate the remoteness until after our conversation, and so further remoteness, yes.
And I guess I got a question for staff. Has staff verified that with the fire marshal's office yet?
We have not as of yet.
Okay.
An email was forwarded to us late this afternoon from Mr. Adams, but again, I haven't spoken with anybody from the fire marshal.
Okay, gotcha. Any other questions?
In the event, I'm not saying you're not telling us the truth, but in the event, Todd, that the fire marshal denies what is being said here, if we were to approve and the fire marshal denied that, what would be the repercussions?
At that point, I mean, if he has proof that they had okayed it at that time, I mean, it still have to go through the original driveway permits and all that, those approvals, but if they've okayed it, I mean, it still have to go through all the process for it.
So I'll ask the question. And I'm not trying to waste anybody's time tonight. Is that something that the board feels like we need to know before we hear any further information? Is something everybody would like to know? Or is that something that, nothing personal, that we'll take Mr. Adams' word for, that he's talked to him, and I believe he did. But as far as the verification, is that something everybody would like to know before we make a decision?
Well, that was my question. If we don't have the verification and we make a decision to approve, and then we find out later that it wasn't, that the verification did not exist, and he says, no, I never said that, and we're not doing that, where do we go from there?
Can we
I
make
can
our-
shortcut that.
Let's
I
ask,
can shortcut
let's ask
that.
the legal, let the legal person in the room.
One of the things you can do is condition approval, if you're leaning toward approval, or if that is a condition you want answered without having to postpone or continue the hearing,
'Cause I'd
is
hate for
to
everybody to
condition
come
it
back
on
and
that
go,
approval.
Yeah.
On his approval.
Okay.
Because I would hope he's going back to the drawing board if he doesn't get the approval.
Okay. And I don't want to waste anybody's time having to come twice, so. Okay.
I make a motion to.
Whoa.
I hear you, I hear you. I was ready.
I'm sure you'll call me back up here in a little bit.
I will. I'll have a long list again. Anybody like to speak in opposition to the subdivision? Now is the time. Please, as I said, when you come up here, state your name and your address, and be as brief as possible, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You notice their FFA
I like
colors,
blue.
right?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name's Heather Simpson. I am the great-granddaughter of the original owner of this farm. My great-grandfather purchased this farm in, you want to know my address? 7064 Harper House Road. I live right where he's trying to take this access in, this emergency access.
Okay.
The farm was divided. There's 205 acres originally, and currently there are, out of 205 acres, I think there's 9 acres that is not being farmed. In saying that, the person that surveyed the land when my great-grandfather died, he has passed away, so of course I couldn't go back and ask questions. But that particular easement, as they're calling it, was never recorded in a courthouse. That is a farm path. So if you will look on page 6, that shows, Exhibit B, shows the original map from 1946 and how that farm was divided. Highlighted is the original farm path. It has been used for over 80 years. The farmer up at that owns the land, pardon me to show, but it owns the land when he's coming down the path. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you come down the path, my uncle's land, he has to come around. There's another gentleman over here that farms the back, also a family member. He owns the very back. Do you see the blue dotted line? That is the original farm path, right there.
Okay.
Like I said, it's been in existence for over 80 years. And I have on page 10 and 11, you can see where it has been recorded multiple times. The farm path has been recorded. On page 7, there is an easement from Carolina Power. That power follows that line. There's power poles all up and down that's been used for all these years. My question, my concern is the gentleman that has an 18-wheeler, I'm sorry, CAD does not tell you anything about making a turn. That is almost a 90-degree turn that you're asking a truck driver to make. That's not feasible. He uses that path every day when he comes in and out. That was the path that was originally there for the farmers and for the original family members that were there. It's not a good thing to get rid of that path. I don't see how you can even get rid of that path. It is recorded. The other thing I want to address is when I told you the person did the original survey that goes by my property was written in that he had 6 feet of my property. The only way that an access road, it has to have a minimum of 20 feet. He doesn't have it unless he uses my 6 feet. That's a problem. I'm paying taxes on something that I don't even use. And you want to put
as whatever he wants to call it, a hard surface barrier, that's not benefiting me, and that's on my land. It was not intended for commercial development. It wasn't intended for housing development. It was intended for farming. And you can see with Exhibit D on page 8, where it's multiple times it's called a plantation road. If you go to page 12, there's 2001 ortho photos. It also shows the farm path has been used. 2013, you still see it. 2025, you still see it. I think the truck driver, he can tell you how long it is. He's going to come and talk to you about the public safety concerns. Excuse me, I have one thing.
The adverse possession.
Oh, we have spoken to an attorney. Anything over 20 years is considered adverse possession.
Exhibit A, page 5.
Yes.
Sorry. Sorry.
One person, please.
Yes, so Exhibit A, she keeps me in line,
I
sorry.
understand.
But it has been, in summary, it's been there and used for all these years. There's several people that's actually worked that farm path. They can tell you it's been there. They're here present tonight. But I want to know, you want to keep this short, brief, so William, would you like to come up?
Sitting to it.
Name's William Strickland. I'm at 7064C. The little wedge right there. I drive the truck, and yeah, there's no way you're gonna make those turns with a 48-foot trailer, much less the 53-foot trailer I pull. So I don't know how you plan on getting me in and out, but the driveways are gonna be the problem for everybody, because by the time you put our driveway in at the end of the cul-de-sac, how many people are gonna go all the way around that cul-de-sac to get out when all they got to do is just cut out through our driveway? Fire department says it has to be 20 feet wide. 2 fire trucks, minimum. Right now, it's 12 feet. It's all I can do to get through there on my truck. I have to jackknife in the road just to get in the driveway. I make it, you know, I can do that. If I had to make those two 90-degree turns, it wouldn't happen. I'd be in somebody's backyard or in that little ditch that's through there, something. You know, we already figured out they're not far enough apart because it's got to be 1,131 feet. But, you know, I went out and measured it across there, and I came up with 700 feet from property line to property line. That's all the road frontage they have is 700 feet. So we know that won't work. Not to mention the delay, once you get all those people in there, delay in law enforcement. If you look on page, where's it at? 16. We had an issue out there. Neighbor's house got broke into. Police finally came out. And what did they say? Don't waste your money on security. Buy a dog. I mean, that came from law enforcement, you know. So what does that tell you about what we have now? I mean, go ahead and throw another 150 houses in there and it's only going to get worse. So that's my side of it. I can't see making those turns on that truck, you know, because that 53-foot trailer, it's already got spread axles on it and they're fixed. They don't move. So it takes a lot to make those turns. So that's my part right now.
Thank you, sir.
May I approach?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Sorry for shouting out earlier.
No,
I've been in court
It's
before.
fine. We do it mainly so it's heard by people that are looking at it, you know, just looking at it on YouTube, so.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. I'm Morgan Simpson from 7064 Harper House Road. I'm actually going to start on page 16, section 3. Does not meet the county's goals nor their needs. So what I did is I pulled up JOCO 2040 Envision document, and I'll walk us through just the way I've structured this is the first bullet is what the document says, and the bullet beneath it is how this is not lined up with that. So section 3, part of an agricultural area is intended to remain rural and avoiding encroachment on agricultural operations. Not only do you have this hog farm that is being developed on, but there's 2 hog farms within half a mile radius of it that this development will be encroaching upon. We've already seen since the Joey Carter trials and everything like that, it's not what the ag community needs, especially with our hog farms being persecuted because of development. Directly, so you got the hog farms, and you have 4 streams running from Mill Creek touching and within the property that is also encroaching upon. LU5, discourage intense residential development in the rural unincorporated areas of the county. I genuinely do not think you get more rural than Harper House Road. We are the last intersection between 701 Harper House Road before we hit Sampson County. We are exactly the rural unincorporated areas of the county. LU5, which you'll see at the start of page 17, and NR2, they're very similar. They're talking about conserving open space. I can already see on this, based upon this agenda that we got, that he does not have enough open space, and he's already having to pay that $157,000 for not being open, which means not only does he not meet that 15%, he certainly does not meet the 20% recommended by this Envision 2040 document. Section LU6, protect viable agriculture. That's certainly not occurring here. LU6 also says implement a farm buffer of at least 50 foot on adjacent new residential projects. Required a vegetative buffer between new subdivisions over a certain size and existing agricultural lands. And a preserved or planted buffer of 50 foot. So if you look at the right side of the property, I think it's the east side, there's no buffer whatsoever at all. Also LU6 says limit utility extensions. I don't think putting all these fire hydrants and utility poles and city water connections is limiting utility extensions. And a maximum, they also recommend a maximum gross density of less than 1 home per 2 acres. These plans currently implement 1 home per 1.19 acres. And that's LU6. NR1 says the county can implement open space plan for strategically important environmental resources in the county. That include riparian areas, wetlands, and mature forest. What these people have done, they have clear-cut mature forest right over running streams that are there yearly. I have pictures of it later in this document. NR2, same thing we talked about, open space. Additionally, I would like to point out, it looks like 11.04, by what I can read, the numbers are so small I can barely read it. 11.04 acres of open space in that document are what was above one of those lagoons. And according to the NRCS, Natural Resources Conservation Service, Code 360, old lagoons should be revegetated. And if old lagoons cannot be revegetated, they should undergo normal cropping practices. Nowhere does it say anything about a road, or maybe a potential place where our children play, or where families in this potential subdivision could gather. If the NRCS tells us not to do anything with it and just to revegetate it, maybe we should take that into account. How will this impact our future kids that play on this property? Also, are the mortality burial sites included in this open space? Where are those mortality sites? I've seen dead animals on this farm. Not only do they produce hogs that go in that hog truck, they also have produced dead cows. Where are they at in the document? We can see the lagoons, they're the gigantic purple things. Where are our mortality sites? CDD1, consider subdivision standards that create a more connected, walkable neighborhoods. Y'all, if we see somebody walking outside, it's not safe around here. You don't get called. You'd be lucky if you don't get shot in some parts of our area. For lack of better terms, we are that area, that level of rural. There is nowhere to walk to, and the whole, every single one of these pieces of property surrounding it are private rural homes. Not connected, and really not safe to walk at. Don't. Just whenever we got here, we were looking at pictures of people walking through the woods through trail cameras. This is not a walkable area. Okay, CDD2, maintain the rural character of the unincorporated areas of the county. Maintain the rural character. This subdivision is 3 times larger than the largest subdivision that has been approved in the Meadow jurisdiction in the past 3 years. 3 times larger. And 0 subdivision lots were approved in Meadow in 2024. 0. This area is not used to seeing this growth. And highlighted on page 18, we'll see encourage only low-intensity uses in the Howard Woods area along the News River. We are only 7.1 miles from Howard Woods. Very close. And lastly, we'll go through prioritize water and sewer. We're this ag area. We're not this big bustling Wilson Mills community. And IT3, expand transit service as project ridership increases. There's not even an Uber out here. Page 19 is probably one of the pages I find most insightful, just because the numbers that you're looking at don't exist. They don't. I did a school project when I was a senior in high school, and all I wanted to know is how many lots and how many houses have been improved in Johnston County in a year. I went to Johnston County. I said, hey, where can I get these numbers? You know what they told me 3 years ago when I graduated? They don't exist. That's because municipalities do not have to report back to Johnston County. Then I learned the wonderful thing about municipalities. We have 2 of them in South Johnston's feeder district, which is where these kids will go. It's 4 Oaks Municipality, Benson Municipality, and the overall Johnston County approved. So what I did is I went through and I pulled Benson's numbers, but I also tell you, not only are the numbers that you're looking at, they don't exist, but also they're incorrect. These are underestimates. I could not get in contact with 4 Oaks. Could not get into, it seems like we played phone tag, could not gain access to their 4 Oaks meeting minutes. I could not tell you how many kids are being added to added to South Johnston from 4 Oaks just because I couldn't get them. Not to mention, these are not 2026's numbers. So if we look, the capacity that's highlighted in yellow is the capacity. Meadow, I'm sorry, the book kind of cut it off. Meadow's this top row, South Johnston's this bottom row. Currently, South is about 99 students over capacity. I didn't graduate all that long ago, but I do remember what lunchtime was like. We had to take lunch in shifts. I remember seeing fights of kids in between courtyards and cafeterias just because there were so many kids. Admin was doing everything they could for crowd control. But now let's look at 23, 24, and 25. Each of those numbers are using the calculations that they gave me for this subdivision. I applied them to throughout the jurisdiction. If we look, total enrollment after approved subdivisions for just 23, 24, and 25, not even including 2026. Meadow's going to be about 16 over cap. South's going to be nearly 350 over capacity. And if we add this, that's not even 26, but if we add this subdivision, South is going to be nearly 400 kids over capacity. That's roughly a third of what currently goes there. Are we really a third over capacity? And Meadow, we saw 0 in 2024, but now we're 60 over cap. This will inevitably lead to schools having to redraw lines and very upset parents and students. All right, so that's the school numbers. 20 is water availability. I'm not going to bore you with this stuff. Long story short, we're currently paying a buttload of people to import water because we cannot produce enough ourselves. I get what you're going to say. We had that Timothy G. Broom water treatment plant coming, and that's only supposed to produce 18 million gallons of water per day. 18 million per day. Well, according to the census data in 2025 estimate, we're going to need 21 million gallons of water per day. So regardless of what you say, we have this treatment plant coming, it's still not going to be enough, and we're still going to have to pay for this water. Using county estimates, which I thought was really low, they said only $4,500 per family. This subdivision is going to cost about $18,000 a year in water. Using EPA's estimates, it's going to cost about $40,000 a year in water. And I get it, they pay water fees and they pay for city water, but it's also going to fall back on the taxpayers. Taxpayers are paying for this water that's being imported in the county as well. Then we're going to move to Section 4, environmental safety concerns. Exhibit O is drainage issues without 157 houses on the premises. This is actually Mr. Williams' property. Where it's taken at, just take the widest points. You have a thing right here. Right, look at your map. There's a star. That's where it came from. Now we're moving into Exhibit P. Previous environmental violations pose threats for new residents. So this is DEQ, DWR, I believe that's Division of Water Resources. Division of Water Resources. The Faison investment farm, or the Faison payback farm, incurred the second highest penalty in June of 2015. Over $6,000 this guy was fined. However, I'm pretty well versed. I've got the OICS certification. I've been through hog farms. I'm an agricultural education major. I know my way around DEQ, OIC, things such as that. For the life of me, I cannot tell you what that violation was for. And that sounds whatever presenting it here, but if I can't tell you it, can our engineer tell us that? Can our developers? Can you? I don't know. Can the people that are moving into this subdivision tell us what it is? I'm sure they're not going to be able to. If I can't find it, nobody can. And I've already looked into public information requests through DEQ. Haven't heard anything back. So good luck to those people. Are we making informed decisions is the moral of that story. Moving into DEQ discussions, which is page 25. I talked to this DEQ man about 3 months ago when I first got, word that this was coming. And he assured me that soil and water tests would be conducted. Assured me they would. I said, okay, that's great. I guess I grew up, if you want anything done, you do it yourself. I did my own water test, and I sent it to Waters Agricultural Lab. It's in Warsaw. It's a professional lab. Many people use it. And it came back positive for total coliform and generic E. coli. And along with the email that said it's unsafe or unfit for human consumption. And this is the H2O that's going to be on the property. Their kids are going to be playing on it, maybe drinking it. You know how kids are. You don't ever know. But 2 weeks ago, I called DEQ, and they told me that no water testing had been done. Excuse me? You told me 2 months ago it was going to be done. Now you're saying nothing's been done? And this is on the table for approval, and we don't even know if it's safe? Okay. If you flip to page 27, you'll see those 2 pictures on the map. Picture on the left is near Harper House Road sample. Picture on the right is near Almond Road sample. I forgot to put it on the map here, but essentially it's the 2 widest points of the property, give or take. If you're looking at the plot map, you can see that the tributary flowing through, and you can see just where we pulled it out. Also look at these papers, page 2017, no riparian buffer. And if what little tree you want to call, that's probably just what the loggers didn't want to grab because it wasn't worth anything. So no riparian buffer there, just logged straight through. Not only were we concerned about the environmental water quality, but so was the Sound Rivers people. So 29 is a letter from Samantha Kropp. Samantha Kropp said that she's the advocacy director of this nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting and improving water quality in the Neuse and Tarapamico river basins. She went through what you have to do to close a lagoon. You must have land available, regulatory approvals, financial resources. She's concerned because of the wet and already saturated land, especially due to the previous fact that this was a hog farm. If you flip the page, she recommends do not approve this rezoning until we figure out how these hog lagoons will be closed. Comprehensive soil study must be done. Expanded vegetarian riparian buffers. If you look at very page to page 30, she's talking about the county's future land map. Exactly what I just went through about how it does not mention 2040 envision. This is rural areas of the county. We need to protect it. Page 32. Also, my DEQ man. I was assured that no more spraying would occur on the property. His words were, this was two or 3 months ago, as no many hogs as he has left. And they were also told me that the lagoons were in the process of being shut down because all of this was happening. We've met with engineers, all the fancy people are involved with it. I'm like, okay, we're not going to have any more hogs. Well, on April 17th, 2026, that was last Friday, we see 9 truckloads of hogs come to the property. Does this sound like somebody that is actively trying to build a subdivision? You know what it tells me? It tells me that if you did any testing of soil, of water, any environmental appraisal, any approval process of anybody through DEQ needs to be redone. You have recontaminated the area. We thought the hogs were gone. They are back, people. They are back. Let's see, page 33. An ironic photo. You got the surveying truck on one side, and you got the hog farm truck on the other. I couldn't tell you how many times that's happened. Probably never. Exhibit U, further evidence that hogs have arrived to the property. If that's not enough, I got video evidence of feed trucks coming in, dropping off feed, and pictures of hog trucks entering the facility, dead trucks. Exhibit V is Department of Environmental Quality Standards have not been met to close a hog farm. So each hog farm or lagoon has to have an OIC, operator in charge. I was told that Mr. Alan Herring is the operator in charge for this for this hog farm. Operating on charge just means you have to go through this long testing operation, long test, and you have to do continuing egg credits every few years, which means that everything I'm about to tell you, the owners already know. Feeder to finished pigs, which is what they are, produce 927 gallons of liquid waste a year. Feeder to finished pigs can produce 33 gallons of sludge a year. If you don't know what sludge is, that's the manure. That's the solid waste. I'll leave it at that. Each hog farm that has over 250 hogs has to have a waste utilization plan. Which basically just tells, we have this waste, we know pigs are on the property, they're producing waste, we know what we're going to do with the waste, safely, environmentally, whole environmental standpoint. And as long as the hog farm has waste to apply, they will need access to the spray fields, taking out a large portion of the property that's proposed to be developed. So if you look over here, he's got his 2 lagoons, he's got all of his houses. That big strip beside me is spray field, to the right. Yeah, I'm blind. Big strip is spray field, and I believe also in the back is spray field too. Yes. So pretty much everything that you see cleared, like this is an old picture because of course, you know, he's logged the land that also has been sprayed upon. But everything that you see is cleared as spray field for the most part. Minus, I think, the portion buried behind us. But the general rule, most of the green is spray field. So he still has to maintain that because he's got animals on the property. Page 5A16 of the OIC handbook says if the owner no longer wishes to maintain the lagoon, it is the owner's responsibility to obtain and implement a lagoon closure plan to eliminate the possibility of a pollutant discharge. Talked to a lot of people, they say this is a very lengthy process. Closure plan must also include all these different things. Proposal of waste removal, amended waste utilization plan. You got to get approval from the specialist. All these things, in other words, it's a lot of work. If you see in the green, the lagoon clearly has not been properly closed. Thus should be held accountable to meet every single rule proposed by the OIC handbook, which is a certification training for operators of animal waste management systems type A handbook, as well as the NC General Institute Chapter 106, Article 67, 106, 803, which Mom will talk about a little later. This further suggests that hog houses and lagoons should remain at least 1,500 foot from residents, and spray fields should remain 75 foot from residents as well. Kind of ironic statement when all he wants to put here is residents. Let's go down. Burial mortality. We don't know where the burial sites are. What about safety of the developers and the future tenants of the land? Because this comes straight from the book. Improper disposal of dead animals will increase the risk of spread of disease to livestock and humans, create odor issues, and can lead to degradation of ground and surface water quality. Burial must be 3 feet beneath the surface of the ground. And then lastly, we have the NRCS Waste Facility Closure, Code 360. That's what the next 37 through 41 is. I've highlighted. Big takeaway from this is that it's recommending that lagoons be revegetated. This is what I referred to earlier. The inclusion of my portion. It seems like there's a lot of loose ends. He says he's going to close it down. It's not been closed down. We don't know about the adverse possession thing. And we got new hogs on the premises, creating new waste, and we'll have to be retested for everything. So with that, I'm going to give this back over to Mom. Thank you, guys.
If you can add to that, it's gonna be really good.
She knows her stuff.
And I mean that as a compliment. I don't mean it to be.
So again, I'm Heather Simpson. I have a question. How do you develop land that you haven't satisfied a deed for? I've referenced, I can give you references if y'all want to look it up. But besides that, how do you develop land that you have to have spray fields for? How do you develop land when you know the rules that state it has to be, a hog farm has to be within 1,500 feet from a house? I know that y'all are well aware of the Youngblood situation, and they're having the opposite. The farmers trying to protect and keep the development from coming to them. In this case, I've got a hog farmer that wants to develop his land, but yet has made no necessary steps to close it. And my concern is that if allowed to start developing without completely closing those hog farms, what's to say, there's 11 different parcels, who's to say that he starts it knowing full well it's not 1,500 feet, and he decides, oh, I'm not going to close my hog farm. So then it rests with you and our county when someone buys the property, and then there's a problem. As she said, there's been no soil testing. That came from DEQ. Also, if you will turn to page 43, I just want to show something to you. Mine's pink. I'm not sure what color yours is. This shows the map, and it shows exactly where those lagoons are, and it shows the hog houses. And because it has to be 1,500 feet, the way the rule states is you go from the corner of wherever it is and go 1,500 feet. If you do that, that entire part that he wants to develop is not 1,500 feet from those hog houses. In saying that, we already know, because I've done hours of research, we already know that there's one person, they're here tonight, that's family never signed off for him to build the hog farms to start with. And I bring this up just to, my point being is, you can't, when you have to take those classes, and you know that occurred, I believe, in 1996, that when it was, you had to take care of it, and it was supposed to be signed and recorded, deeded in the courthouse. That didn't happen. This lady has lived here all these years within less than 1,500 feet. So obviously they don't care. I hate to say it that way, but they don't care. So if you approve something without those hog farms being completely decommissioned, and the moratorium states once you shut down a hog farm, you can't reopen it. So if you allow him to start it, building this, and he decides to change his mind, then what about all the people that's bought these houses? Because it's done in stages, and because obviously they didn't do it the first time. There's only one person that signed it, and that person's name is recorded. It's on page 48. His name was Mr. Barfield. But it's that the waiver agreement was signed and documented, and I have a copy. The other thing is you have to have the spray field. If he tries to come to the far end, closest to where I showed you the original easement that was recorded was, if you come there, he's still not within 1,500 feet. And he has to have the spray area. So you can't develop with no spray area. I mean, you can't keep a hog farm with no spray area. So I'm asking you to please not approve this, and especially do not approve it, or if you do approve it, do not let him build the first house until those hog farms are completely decommissioned, because that's not fair to anybody. I don't think there's anybody in this room that wants to live that close to a hog farm. I walked out of my house this morning, and the hog farmer across the street was spraying. It smells terrible. You know why I endure it? It's because I want to live in the country. But a lot of people don't want to live in the country, and they don't want to smell it. They don't want to see it. I have been sitting at my house under my patio and felt hog waste being sprayed, and it hit me beside the face. So I'm telling you, 1,500 feet is not enough, but North Carolina rule is 1,500 feet. So please, please, do not let him begin to develop at all until those hog farms are completely decommissioned for the safety of others. I mean, I'm just being very honest with you. I think the last section, the very last section is, Morgan was, I think it was 300, almost 300 signatures. We asked for a petition for those in Johnston County, those that live close by. We have neighbors that are elderly. We have neighbors that cannot get out. They just had surgery. They can't come. So we said, fill this out, and that way your voice can be heard. If you look at the very back, there's all the signatures, and there's the comments of what they think about this subdivision. ask of you to please, if you're gonna approve it, do not let it be approved until those farms are completely decommissioned. Because track record has it, he's not gonna do things the right way. I mean, I know his father did that. His father started the farm, GIS. But that's not right. It's not right at all. Is there anything, there may be people outside that want to speak. I know there's a lot of people that has come. Does anybody have anything else they want to say?
I'll say something. I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
When you said these hog farms are to be decommissioned, you're talking about the hog farm associated with the property that is being developed, not the outside hog farms.
So there's a hog farm directly across the street. No, not that one.
Right, I understand, but you mean, when
But
you say
I'm talking
do
about
not do not approve, you're talking about the property in question here for the
Yes, sir.
development only?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. And if you notice, he purchased, his father and purchased the farm in sections. So it's very easy to say, okay, well, I'll develop this part first, and then I'll go to this part, and I'll go to this part. But the problem is, none of that area is within 1,500 feet. So if you
All right, I got
approve anything to be, then it doesn't meet the requirements per state code. So, is there any other questions?
I have a question
Yes,
about
ma'am.
the CPNL easement.
Uh-huh.
Is it, from what you were saying, it's running along the farm path, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is on the parcel in question,
It's
correct?
It's one of the parcels that he wants to develop.
Okay, and in reading this, it is an easement in perpetuity.
Okay, so that easement was for my great-grandfather, what was that, 1936. I could not find, I'm very honest with you, I could not find where it had an exact location that's gonna be at this point, but I can tell you that the poles have been that way since then. I mean, since 1936, I guess, when they installed it. They follow that farm path. Did I answer your questions? Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easement in perpetuity.
Okay, so,
I mean, it can't go anywhere.
okay,
it can.
very-
An easement in perpetuity
Uh-huh.
with Duke Energy.
Oh, yeah. If they'll agree and somebody pays to have all those poles and lines moved again along the side and give a new easement, yes, they can.
Any more questions?
I've done it.
I'll ask my husband when we get home.
Huh?
I'll ask my husband about this.
Yeah.
He works for Duke Energy.
Yeah, they've done it many times.
Can I speak? Well, I'll ask you this, if they're moving the poles. would
Can
they
you
have
come
to
up
get
here
a-
if you
Yeah,
want to
sorry.
speak, please?
Like, once again, they're in the car, I don't know. I'll ask you this, so if they do move the poles, would they have to gain the approval of,
Whoever's land it's on.
I can go ahead and
They would
say-
have to get another easement.
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
tell you that approval will not be granted.
Well, I mean, that's just,
Thank you.
yeah. Whoever's land it's on is only who they'd have to seek approval from.
Any other questions?
I do have one question. So in a situation that the original farm path is on half of my land, on 6 foot of my property, can that automatically be included for him to use as an emergency access driveway when that historically was for farming purposes, not for a residential development?
Can I ask her a question?
That's a question for a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's the question for
Yeah, that's not a question for the
But I
board.
have a question for her about that.
Okay.
You're saying that the farm path sits on your land?
Yes, the way
Okay.
it's, like, if you, where it's, I mean, they've been paying for surveying out there, so if you look where our property line is, that, and it's written, in fact, I can show you. It
I
was
see
written-
it sitting over to the left, and the little black lines is the property we're talking about.
The path, because, Mr. Williams not the only one that has used it with 18-wheelers. The path has shifted a little bit, but if you refer back to page 8 that is recorded from 1946, my property runs to half of that farm path. So from 701, or not
If
701.
I'm looking at this, which is your property, to the right or the left of the
See where
path?
the green barns are?
Yes.
And so it would be to my right, to your right, where the black path is, and it goes down and circles back. My property goes to that center path. So So right.
To here?
My property goes to that corner, go back down to the corner. Can you show
Is
me?
that your house? Right there?
Right here, from here to the road.
That's your property?
Yes, ma'am.
And I see where the path is actually over on your property.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I was asking.
Yes, ma'am.
Just
Well,
with
those
the green
lines-
lines,
those lines-
justification with the green lines, which are indicative of property lines as mapped, do not necessarily justify appropriately and correctly with the ortho photos. Because a lens, when they take the ortho photos, a camera lens is convex. It being convex. you
So the
can't
worst
get a
lines may not be
justification.
completely
The lines
correct.
may not be exactly where the ortho
Okay.
photos say it. Or it may not justify exactly where the ortho photos. That's why the county has a disclaimer all over GIS.
Right.
It's informational basis only. So the only way to know is to do your deed research and then survey the property and stake and make sure.
We ran into the same thing on 39 on that property.
Yeah.
Like I
Reach
said,
Church Road.
I've spent hours and there's no recorded easement at all. Yeah, other than that 1946 that shows that being a farm path. Thank you.
Okay.
But he can use it as a farm path, right?
It has been used as a farm path, but he wants to develop it and take my farm path away.
Oh, I thought it was the man with the trucks.
The man with the truck uses
Same
the
path.
farm path. It's the same path, yes,
Right.
ma'am. It's the exact same path. He uses that to get to his property at the very back. And the farmer who's here tonight, he uses it to get to his property, which, can you show them, which is this property back here?
That's the guy that uses,
Yes. see,
runs
he-
trucks.
He runs trucks
But
down that path.
he's not been using that one, he's been using that one?
He uses the one that circles out.
Oh,
That way
on
he
the
doesn't
right.
have to try and make 90-degree turns.
Okay.
And historically, that's been there for 80 years. Which,
The-
any
The
other?
one that's historically been there for 80 years, whose property is that on?
The entrance off of Harper House Road,
No, the part that,
that part right there is what he wants to develop. That's
But-
Alan Herring's.
that's his property,
That's his
where
property,
the farm path is.
where the farm path is.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing two paths here.
But, correct. But the part in question is how you're gonna have an emergency entrance that's running on somebody else's.
Oh, I understand
Yes,
the
okay.
front, I understand that. I
Yes.
was just wondering where that part was, whose
Okay.
property that
Yes,
was on.
yes, sir, thank you.
Anyone else?
So to clarify, the entrance is on your property or on the property in question?
The entrance,
The entrance off Harper House, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is on your property up to a point where it makes a turn, well, almost where it makes a turn.
Saying 6 feet of the half of the path, 6
So-
feet of it.
Yes.
all the way
It's
up
a
and down.
12-foot farm path,
that's a 12-foot farm path that he is proposing to use as
a 20-foot.
the emergency access.
Understand?
Which means he needs your 6 feet.
He needs my 6 feet to make the 20 feet.
But also it's to give access, the access has been utilized on the farm path to these other parcels down, that are off.
Right, so if you take what has been historically for 80 years, then, and it doesn't apply to that, then why am I having to give up my 6 feet?
I understand your
You
question.
see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
So, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Please make sure it's something that's new, please.
Mary Honeycutt Jernigan.
Come forward, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Honeycutt Jernigan, 5485 Meadowbrook Road. This is Liam Jernigan, 5485 Meadowbrook Road. Good evening, Planning Board, family and friends, with all respect to the Herring family as well. Thank you for your service to local governance and the invitation to comment regarding this matter of Harper House Road. In addition to representing the Barfield farmland, which rests adjacent to the property in discussion, we also represent additional Johnston County farm families of Anders, Jernigan, Honeycutt Rose, and the historic Cole Farmhouse, of which many of these farms have been farming since the 1700s in Johnston County. Well, what exciting times these are for our children to enjoy the boom of commerce, prosperity, and industry right in our backyards. North Carolina has historically been a balanced purple state, merging the best of all balance and beautiful neutrality. Today, I bring concerns that North Carolina is the second state in the country for projected farmhouse loss. I bring concerns that the land that my grandfathers fought so hard for to preserve in World War II is being sold sometimes to adversarial governments within a stone's throw of U.S. military bases. And this, our 250th birthday, our nation's successful currency has been backed not merely by gold, but by God's provision and our food supply. The nation with the strongest agricultural supply chain will have the currency to back the strongest defense system. So as a rural trauma therapist, I have the honor of serving both the military and farmers on my caseload, and both of these occupations have the highest rates of suicide than any other profession. I have additional concern that as a medical provider, now as we speak, there is currently insurance policy potentially phasing out telehealth, which has been a medical miracle past COVID, and that's being discussed will choke out the rural clinical workforce serving those honored populations, thus placing our farmers and military without much needed medical care. And so as a country and state, we must do our best to protect North Carolina farmers and the farmland and the military who poured their blood, sweat, and tears into this dirt so that others might forever be united towards life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thank you for your time.
And thank you, young man, for coming.
I'm dressing up.
One more closing statement, if that's okay. I'm sorry, guys. I know you're getting tired of hearing me talk. But I want to talk about tonight's decision. Tonight's decision, you have two parties. You have a party that's trying to develop, which I don't even know if they're here tonight. You've got a party that's trying to develop, as well as a party that don't have to live with it. So the party that's trying to develop, it's interesting to say, not one of them lives in Johnston County. They're not going to pay Johnston County property taxes. They're going to leave it to us. And after tonight's decision, if you approve it, they don't go back home. They don't continue on whatever operation that they're doing. They're not going to think twice about it. They're going to pocket the money, and that's going to be the end of it for them. But for us, the ones that live here, the ones that have to sit outside in what used to be beautiful pasture land and watching the cows graze, we don't have to see our neighbors and have to worry about how we conduct our own lives. We change about, do we walk down the path every night? Are we concerned about having a neighbor's complaint if we're running our tractor and trying to till our field? Are we more concerned about theft? I mean, we don't have to lock more stuff up. We don't have to be more concerned about that. As well as when it comes to safety. We have horses, we have farm equipment, we have machinery, and we don't have 157 new houses next to us. That's 157 plus more lives that are liable. And we're going to, what happens to us as landowners? We don't have to deal with this. While as our other parties that are trying to develop are just going to go home and forget about it. But us, we don't have to remember it. We don't have to see it every single day of our lives. Think about that. We're being encroached upon. Thank you.
And thank you for your due diligence and information involved. I got a whole host of questions, I'm sure everybody else does, but first of all, for staff, Braston, it was mentioned in the JOCO 2040. How does that relate currently to the existing ordinance and codes that the county has for development? Can you talk to that, please?
So, yeah, I certainly can. So, the land use plan, or what we call a comprehensive plan of Vision Johnston, essentially is a guidance document. It is a vision for what the community has said they want Johnston County to be. In that process, there's public engagement, and that thereby creates the product that we have before us. Those are goals, and the mechanisms to achieve those goals are policies, ordinances, and other items of such, which are more enforceable in nature. Once again, land use plan is a guidance document. So this board is well aware, but for the audience and those listening at home, just give you a brief history on the land use plan. That land use plan was adopted officially in late 2023. We began work on the current proposed UDO, which is still undergoing amendments or draft changes. That is one of the largest, probably the largest mechanism to fulfill those goals. Now, we started that in 2024, the UDO. In process of doing so, there was legislation that was handed down by our legislators in Raleigh that took away our ability to, the county's ability, any local government's ability essentially, to downzone property. And in doing so, that restricts the county from foreseeing or being able to really see that land use plan to fruition, because there were some changes with regard to the way property is zoned in the county, the way it's developed, density, rates of density of development. And that's changed quite considerably. We've lost that ability to do that without every single property owner impacted giving written consent. So you can imagine there's roughly 265,000 in population, so you can, based on a household of about 2.75 on average per home in the county, you can imagine there's the number of homes. So those households have to give, where those property owners have to give written consent. That's extremely difficult. So as that exists today, how that impacts your decision here, it's technically negligible, because what you're looking at, this is a standards-based hearing. So you're looking at does the plat, before you meet the standards for a preliminary plat, and I want to stress preliminary plat. If it were approved, it is a preliminary plat. There is a tremendous amount of work to be done. There is design. There is regulatory requirements that have to be met in that design. There may be buffer calls that have to be made, and typically those are made by Johnston County staff out of our Public Utilities Department, Stormwater Engineering. All of these things have to be fulfilled before the first bucket of dirt is moved on that site. In addition to that, you have a list of conditions before you. Those conditions can be amended as part of the approval. If so choose, you can add to those conditions, you can remove, you can alter in any manner that you see fit, as long as it is a benefit to the development and the surrounding community as well. But that's a long answer for a short question.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
Can we stipulate something about the closure of the hog pond, or do we want to go there yet? Or
Let me get some questions answered. I will refer to the engineer on record for this development. I'm sure everybody else has got other questions, but I've got several listed, and I'll give you the easy ones first that I think I know the answer to, but I want to make sure. The path in question, and we'll get to the other parts of it in a minute, but if the path is there and that is the second access, as you had alluded to, will that be gated? Would it be a Knox box there for the fire department? How would that work? And I know you got personal property, then you got property that's going to be used, for, and to the gentleman's point, they'll be used to get out. I mean, how are you going to mitigate that?
Okay. So I guess the first place I'll start on that is saying the path and then saying our access. They may be the same thing, or they may not be the same thing. We're not proposing anything that is on somebody else's property. So that would be the first thing. If like Braston was saying, the aerials don't always line up. We're in the process of doing all the title work and surveys and all those things to nail everything down. But what we believe is where we've got it shown is on the property that is in question, not on anybody else's. And so there's no intention to do that, not take away anybody's path, not taking away anybody's access. The second part of that, I don't have a great answer for you on, because we start getting into the weeds as far as gating it. There's no plan to gating it.
I'm guessing when I say gated, I mean at
with
the
the fire marshal and working
at
through
the
that.
cul-de-sac, so the residents in the subdivision could not use the path. That's what I was referring to. And typically, they may have a Knox box with a key, that the fire department can get in if they need to.
Okay,
So
yes.
that was just what I was thinking.
No, that makes total sense. We've done that on other projects and where we've had emergency access on and gating it at that right of way is
Yeah.
basically what you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
If that's something that needs to be done, not a problem.
Boy, I got a lot of blue on here. Can we talk about the plans for the hog farming operation and the how it relates to the development of the property? When is that operation going to be shut down and at what time with the development of the property?
Okay. I'll answer the parts that I know. First off, I'll start with, it makes sense that the guy continues to, the underlying landowner continues to operate a hog farm because today it's a hog farm. It's not a subdivision. It's AR and that's one of the uses. So when he stops, I don't know 100%. I'm sure that's contractual. I do not believe that there is any intention to go partial way in and start developing it. That's ludicrous to us. But I can't speak contractually.
So,
Yep, the hog farm, once, I guess, I don't know what part of the process, if it's after tonight, if we are approved tonight, if it's next, but before there's development. And of course, like everybody says, there's a long process once we leave here tonight, should we secure approval tonight, to go through all of our complete design, both for what we do on a typical subdivision, but then also, as mentioned, the lengthy process associated with, through the USDA and what was mentioned, the resource conservation. That all that is driven and there will be a process that we go through to
another part of that,
permit and approve.
of the 157 lots, how many phases are planned?
Do not
Currently.
have a current phasing plan.
Okay.
Do you have a number of annuals?
Okay.
Do you have,
And that typically, just for everybody's, that can change readily, depending on a lot of things. But, I asked that for a reason, and it goes back to the hog farms.
Okay.
and can we add that as a condition, that the
That's
hog
what-
farm
but-
be?
That's what Crenshaw was asking. I
I'm
was thinking the
guessing,
same thing.
to me, that's a legal issue. And
think-
at what point do you say you're developing the property? I guess is my thing, but prior to construction or what? But
Rather than him.
Can you give me your name and?
Yes, sir. Zach Doherty, 313 Stonehenge Drive in Dunn. We're closing on the entirety of the property all at one time. So there's no buying 60 acres and 60 acres and 60. It's all at one time. And Mr. Herring has agreed to, part of the stipulations of the contract is that he leads the charge in the permitting process of closing out the full operation of lagoons, the demolition of the houses. We're going to assist in that matter, but he's got to be the one legally to close out those permits.
Okay. And I guess my question to our legal staff is, and it was Jerry's question, and that be a condition of the approval if we get to that point.
I think you can condition it on compliance with the remediation of the hog farm and dismantling and those sorts of things, but those are not our ordinances. Those are state requirements and may have some federal requirements that we can't control, but you can require compliance with those.
Okay, thank you. Can you talk to me about your plans for your drainage on the site? I know this is very preliminary, but as it relates to, a little bit of what we discussed before on the prior subdivision.
So I'll say kind of my generic statement in how we design our subdivisions. Our best plan with land is allow the water to keep going where it's always gone. And so we'll design it in that manner. We will, as we do on all our subdivisions, all our development work, we will design it consistent with Johnston County stormwater and erosion control requirements, standards, how we move the water, how we control it, where we release it properly in the drainage ways.
And one of my other questions was, we talked a little bit about this, and the gentleman spoke as well about the turn radius, and I'm assuming you use something like a WB50, which don't mean anything to anybody probably other than the geeks in the room, but and talk to the crowd about how that's used in industry abroad in anything from a Sheetz, a Wawa, or a Target or whatever.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yep, I sure will. And so the first thing I'll say is we did model it, and I couldn't tell you which one,
Right.
what the actual WB number is.
Right.
But we did not model where you come off of Harper House Road onto that, into the site, because I figure he's already doing that.
Right.
We didn't model that, which is a 90-degree turn, give or take. But once we got to the cul-de-sac, we did model it, we run it, and it is a CAD-based system, and we used it on, like you said, there's different wheelbases, different setups that we'll use, and it defines how the turning radiuses are, both the leading and the tracking wheels, whether it's tandem or what the case is, separation between them, and so it programs it. So we've done that. We provided the radiuses, and when we run it, we show that you stay inside of the easement that we've provided. But on both sides, not just on our side, but also does not get off the property and encroach into anybody else's property.
And I think the scale of the drawing may be a little misleading when you're looking at it on this paper.
And the easement is 20 feet in width.
So the partial, so it's a combination of different things. So when you come off the road there, and it's to be totally determined in the final surveying, but it's around, it's less than 30 feet at the roadway, somewhere around 26 feet, give or take, as I understand it, but I'm not the surveyor yet. But then once we leave there, then we move up to a 30 feet, and the easement is, I think, how we've called it out on our plan.
And correct me if I'm wrong when I say this. Can we go back to the one you just had, Braston, if you don't mind? The part up there where the blue T12 is, or whatever it is, that part, yeah, that part right there is on your client's property? Where the 1 and the 2 is, or whatever it is, that part that he's just showed right there, that part is on your client's property.
That is correct.
And you're going to utilize that property, but provide the path for access to the other properties.
That's correct.
Okay. Just make, but we still have the issue at the differences of opinion at the road, Harper House. Okay. I think that's, can we talk to streams? Have you had jurisdictional?
We've done some work.
Okay.
We don't have final concurrence on that work, both, a couple different processes. As you know, we got the jurisdictional part where the wetlands and stream determinations, but then we also got riparian buffers, which the county makes the calls on those. Those generally follow once we receive our preliminary subdivision approval. But our environmental guy has been on the ground.
Right. I think that's all I have off the top of my head. Anyone else have any questions?
My only concern is the hog lagoon. They kind of make me nervous, but at the same time, I know it's hard to tell a current property owner, you got to close down your business in order to close it with him, and then he don't close it, and you close down your business. It's like a catch-22.
And I also understand the lady's point that,
Yeah.
you know, that's what probably needs to happen. But
Well, I think we discussed making it a condition that we follow all state and federal guidelines or per closure of a hog farm. I don't know how else to word it.
I hope that would happen anyway.
Well,
But like the girl
I think
said.
we need to put it in writing, so it is.
Yeah, because like she said though, what if they started developing and finished the first 30 houses up front and then didn't do anything with hog lagoons at the back?
Well,
And this may-
according to the owner, or according to the developer, that's not the intent.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna shut it all down at one time. And I think we should be able to put that in the conditions.
This may be a question for staff. If we approve this tonight, how long is it this preliminary approved for from action? Can we require the developer to have action on it? So I'll get to the root of my question. So if they do DEQ Lagoon, I'm an ag person, I'm an ag major, PhD in ag. If they call DEQ and DEQ says you have to repair that area for 5 years with vegetation to offset the lagoon, we're wasting our time tonight anyway, is my understanding. I don't know if it's 5 years, but.
Yeah, so there's county ordinance has you have a 3-year period from the preliminary date of preliminary approval, or actually the adoption of the written decision, which comes after the preliminary approval. The written decision is then given to the board, and that's a formality, but it has to be done. So you have 3 years to actually have, ordinance says record, but there's some case law out there that really would back it up to say, look, if you have been permitted, you have a development permit, and you're now acting on that permit, we would take it, you would have 3 years from that date.
So I guess my next follow-up to that, board, is has the developer or the engineer done any research to determine what, from the day the last hog leaves that facility and that lagoon is pumped and whatever is done, what is that time frame for recovery of that site?
Okay, all right. Two things to say on that. First, I do not know how long that process is. Again, noted that an environmental consultant that does this has been engaged, but I have not heard a number other than it's lengthy. And on top of that, I would ask, this would be a staff question. As I understand it, I do clearly that there's 3 years. At the end of that 3-year period, there's an opportunity. I believe there's an opportunity for an extension under circumstances. So if we were in the process, if we didn't meet the deals, there would be an opportunity to extend that for, I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah, so, there's some vagueness in the ordinance about it gives administrative, does give an administrative waiver for that at up to 1 year. So you can extend that period up to 1 year. And on an administrative level, anything beyond that would have to come back to this board. Or whoever the approval body is at that particular time, if that were to change.
That answers your question, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hold on. Okay, before I bring it back to staff, typically we don't re-engage, but if you'll be brief.
It's one question.
Yes, sir. Come to the podium, please.
Wait, first one again?
Yes.
The flood water runoff was plus or minus 10%. Okay. Look on page 21 of our little booklet.
Yeah, and.
That's his job.
And.
Does that look like I can handle 10% more?
Right. So I'll bring it back to the engineer, get you a question answered. So before I let you, I don't know when that picture was taken. I don't know
Last year.
Okay, what type of event it was? You know, is it
heavy rain?
And to the engineer, Donnie, can you come up here and say what you designed, what the requirements for design as far as a storm requirement is for the subdivision?
And this was 3 separate events. It won't the same one.
Okay, thank you.
So there's as far as what we design, I don't know without looking at these pictures and exactly what they mean. But as far as storms go, there's multiple different storms that we use for multiple different reasons throughout the process. So erosion control, then we're generally using a 2-year storm and a 10-year storm. 2-year storm is like if we need to put a measurement on it, that's kind of like your big thunder boomer in the summertime. Boom, your afternoon thunderstorm, 2-year storm. Doesn't make sense when you say 2 years, but that's about right. With our storm systems, our cross drains, then we're doing 10 and 25s year storms. If we are doing any stormwater control measures, the current procedure, we would be designing for a 2-year storm. We have to safely pass the 25, the 50, and the 100.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Bring it back to staff
Again.
again.
Staff recommendation was denial due to the access roads being too close together in accordance with the fire prevention code. I understand that he has spoken with them, but staff hasn't had the opportunity to do so yet. Also, we have concerns about the secondary emergency entrance leading from Harper House up to that 90-degree if it's being used by a tractor trailer, if it breaks down and emergency vehicles aren't able to get to that access. So we also have concerns about that.
Duly noted. And I'm assuming you're gonna follow up as far as?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Got a question about the Duke Energy easement. Does it cross two property lines, and if so, do both property owners need to agree to a modification of the easement?
I can attest to the one I had done. It was on, it's where you had to, if you're gonna move that easement, you're gonna have to get any property owners to sign where the easement is moved.
That's correct.
Just where it's going to be moved?
Excuse me?
Just where it's going to be moved?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't know the answer if it's on more than one property line.
It's my understanding it's also any impacted property owners.
Right.
So if the diversion or relocation impacts anyone else, they would also have to have written approval.
You also
If-
have to have the buy-in from the existing easement owner too.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the hog lagoons. And this is a question for staff. I believe we went through one very similar to this a couple of years ago, and these were abandoned hog lagoons that caused major problems, and these are active hog lagoons.
With that said, I'm just wondering, this is a question for the board and a question for the engineer or the owner of the property. Would we want to hear from the environmentalist that you alluded to, that gives us some idea about what that process is and the timing of the process? How long does that take before we make a decision? And I'm just asking the question for feedback.
And the fire marshal.
And that's what I was gonna say. To me, that's the ownership of, or the responsibility of the ownership. That should have been brought tonight. That's just my opinion. That's due diligence. If you have active hog lagoons, you know there's a moratorium, you know it's highly regulated, not just regulated, highly regulated by several different organizations. That is a time-consuming process. So to me, that will impact my decision.
It will?
It will. The hog lagoons and not hearing from the fire marshal. I'll be honest, with staff's secondary concern tonight, those two are my two concerns that I don't think have been met tonight.
Yes, sir.
So hearing that, have no problem tabling to do that. What I would ask is, I do have email, but what would the board be satisfied with the fire marshal? Does he need to be here in front of you? Does he need to provide something which we shared?
To me, and if he shares it with staff, and staff can share that with us, I think that helps us, without him having to be here.
Sure. Something that comes straight from him, you, not me as the.
Correct, correct, yeah.
And do you have, Donnie, what about is the easement wide enough? Is the easement sufficient enough? Are you all happy enough? The fire chief, are they happy enough with the width of the existing easement? Or is there gonna be some conversation here that may change the whole thing altogether? I'm concerned, there's a lot of discussion about this ingress egress here.
Yeah.
And it's very dependent on whether the fire marshal can get in here. But we also have a side note going on that we're not even sure what an easement is or what it is.
Well, according to one testimony, there's only 6 foot of easement
Well, it was,
available.
no, that was, I think that's a picture on a,
Well, I
that's
don't,
just a picture. We don't
Well,
need to look at that.
I think.
It needs to be surveyed.
Maybe the thing is that prior to, if you want to table it, I mean, if we have that opportunity, I'll defer to staff. Can you survey it, have that information to us when we bring it back? Because I think there's 3 things. I think the hog lagoons, the path, and
fire marshal.
the fire marshal's stuff. I mean, those are 3 big things for us.
Okay. So, so yes, I would request that you allow us to table this until we can provide the survey to nail down the front access as well as that whole easement picture, so we can speak clearly to that. Also, to be able to have, beyond the email I have, be able to have confirmation, and I'll further it to, because their statement doesn't say that they didn't call out measurements, they've reviewed the plan and are satisfied with it, but we can take care of that part. And then on the environmental side, on the hog lagoon, so what I'm hearing is, and please correct me, Mr. Holloman, if I state it wrong, but what you want, you're asking for the environmental consultant to stand in front of you, or for him to provide me information, he or her to provide information for the timing of it, because we know there's a process, and we know there's a permit that comes, and it's clear deal, but you're mainly concerned about the timing.
Yeah, the day that the last hog leaves, how soon could you put 157 or so residents on this property, and all the regulatory agencies feel comfortable that we won't hear about this later?
Okay.
And for me, that is that person being here.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can ask.
That is not, I mean, I'm not trying to put that burden on you, but I don't want you to be the middleman either. I'd rather hear it from that person.
Okay.
And staff, can we table at this point to have that information? And for everybody, I mean, I apologize if you have to come, if you want to come back, but I want to have these questions answered for us, so we make a very good decision prior to, so we know what, all the information we got. Yes, ma'am.
My only request is, we got a lot of hours in these books. Can we have them back, please?
Yes. Yes.
Don't we need one
So,
for?
Do we need to make a
Did you
motion?
get one for the record?
Yeah.
Don't we need to leave one here?
Yes.
Press.
So you will need if you're gonna table, you will need a motion to do a second. And it needs to be date specific to a regular meeting of this body. So
Okay.
your current dates, the next date is May 19th, and the June date is the 16th. Both Tuesdays, 6 PM, same location.
And does the motion need to include the 3 things, specifically what we're looking for?
You can include that in a motion. I think that's been expressed. It's on the record as what you're looking for. Would it hurt? It probably wouldn't hurt to know those 3 items.
My thing too, which date would you prefer? A month from now or 2 months from now?
Yeah, timing and the ability to be able to do some of that may dictate which day. And you can push it out as long as you need, as long as the motion just has.
Yeah, because I want all that stuff to be done, so we don't have to do it again, have all the information.
Yep. So we were just chatting, we believe that we can do it in 30 days, but I want to ask for 60 days because we'd rather do that than have to come and table it again another time. So.
I'll be in Ireland then, so that's good.
Would you like that?
I will be, but.
You can zoom in.
Was there anything
You'll
else
be in
that I
Ireland
needed?
in May or June?
Anything else I need to ask for?
So he wants the June 16th. You want the June 16th date, is that
June
correct?
16th. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to table till June 16th.
You want to mention the other, what we want to include?
Yeah, so at our June 16th meeting, we'd like to learn about the hog farms, the easement, and there was one more.
Fire marshal.
Fire
Fire
marshal.
marshal. Yep, we'd like to understand all that information on the June 16th meeting.
Have a motion on the floor to have a second.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Crenshaw, second by Mr. Sasser. All those approved say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Aye.
Was there two?
Yeah.
Okay. Passes, thank you. All right, we're gonna take a short break, about 5 minutes before we get on to the zoning. I know, but I got to go.